Hello. The title today is First Journeys in the Middle Ground. It is episode number 10. 8 November 2023 and India, August 2017. Quote, evolution does not move higher and higher into an ever more heavenly heaven, but deeper and deeper. And each cycle or evolutionary round comes to completion a little further down, a little nearer to the center, where the supreme high and low, heaven and earth, will finally join. Thus, for the two poles to actually meet, the pioneer must cleanse the mental, vital and material middle ground. When the junction is made, not merely mentally and vitally, but materially, spirit will emerge in matter, in a total supramental being and supramental body, and all earth shall be the spirit's manifest home. Unquote. Anybody can understand and accept that after the experience I was going through at the staircase at the Baltic Sea in Denmark 50 years ago, and which I described in my previous video, life will be upside down. First thing I did after coming back to Munich was changing my daily activities. I gave up politics, as they are practiced, for good, and focused instead with all my energy and time on finding out what had happened to me. The event constituted one more issue in my life I neither could understand nor communicate to anybody. One more secret. That I myself was doubting it from the very beginning, up till recently, everybody easily can understand. When I recall in my mind, even now, I have to convince myself that it has been real, with my mind acting for proof. But any proof this way only can be in the memory, unless this kind of experience will be repeated. Memory rests with the same medium where the doubt originates from, the mental field that is limited by itself. And when I try to persuade me that the event had been only an illusion, the picture of how it happened comes up, playing it in front of my inner eyes, like a cat catching its tail. I started my research into the phenomenon I experienced immediately after returning to my normal life, using outwardly my studies of political science at the university. The good thing was that I had unlimited access to the library, and there I spent most of my time in the following month. Besides, I started taking up Hatha Yoga lessons, as well as the studies of Indian culture, philosophy, and psychology. On the course of my quest, one evening I attended a lecture on a project in India, where some work on yoga and development of consciousness was going on. The lecture was lousy, but at the place where it took place, I all of a sudden was noticing a man who had something around him I never had seen in my life before, and which touched me deeply. I approached him hesitantly, asking him who he was and where he came from. He answered that he had just arrived from India from the same project, a kind of colony. The actual lecture of the evening was about, and that this was a place where the experiment was going on. A project centered on personal development, including the physical body. It took me not more than literally 20 seconds to instantly know that for me this was it. I would go there and join no matter what, because this was what I was looking for. I was shocked myself by my own reaction, but there was no question, no doubt. I had found home. This was a place where I was supposed to be. The purpose I understood and accepted it the very moment I got to know that this project existed. Later in our apartment, I told my girlfriend, "You know, I decided to move to India. Wanna come along?" She screamed at me, and I cannot blame her. The place where the beginning of the experiment is supposed to have started was called the ashram. The original founder of the ashram had left his body in the middle of the last century, his body being buried at a spot called the Samadhi, located in a courtyard between some main ashram buildings behind a compound wall. It was a place for peace, silence, and prayer. Above the actual grave, a huge pedestal had been erected, covered with polished white stone, where people were meditating day and night, with thousands of fresh flowers being offered and placed on it. A large, majestic tree overshadowed the scenario. Over the years, millions of devotees were coming there in order to pay their respects, mostly Indians. But, per definition, the work and the teaching of the founders would have nothing to do with any religion, as it was determined and written down by themselves, the founders. When we reached the ashram, in September of the year 1973, she, the spiritual partner and companion of the founder, was said to be still alive and present, residing in one of the buildings touching the courtyard. We knew nothing about her, nor anything connected to any of the ashram's arrangements, procedures or rules, or how things were being organized, nor what we were supposed to do. No information was given. We had been traveling and living for about 2 months inside an old, pepped up VW bus. We meant us. That were my girlfriend and me, along with her 4-year-old daughter. We had crossed per road Switzerland, Italy, Yugoslavia, Greece, Turkey, Persia, Afghanistan and Pakistan, reaching the Indian border in late August after traveling for 60 days. Crossing the actual border to India, the first experience of the country where I would spend my next 50 years, was the sight of a beautiful Indian girl with an uncovered face of a goddess, smiling at me right after the barrier separating India and Pakistan. India, in my view, was welcoming us. We participated in a traditional marriage in New Delhi, and we were hitting endless roads through a wild country we could not understand, on our journey into the unknown with an ever-increasing sense of urgency to reach our destination as soon as possible. We were sleeping and eating inside our van, driving through jungles, cities and villages with their millions of people ever present, but we knew only one purpose in our mind: to reach the mysterious city of dawn. On our way, though, there was Varanasi. If a foreigner wishes to start learning something about India, he or she would go to Varanasi, if he or she can, and if he or she makes it, because it is one of the places of the gods, and only if he or she are ready to experience the extraordinary. It is a place where your soul wishes to be, and here it is where millions of dead bodies are being sacrificed and reunited with their origin after being burnt to ashes, while their bones are dancing in huge open fires along the banks of the river Ganga. Finally, they are giving back to the element earth with their soul reaching heaven. Thousands of pilgrims take their holy baths next to it, inside the river, saturated with remnants of uncounted burnt human bodies, creating secret energy. On the riverbanks, the fire are burning day and night, with bare-bodied priests are hitting flesh and bone with large wooden poles amidst the smell of charred organic matter. One can watch the scene also by boat, if one is a visitor and if one can stand it. And during the ride, one may encounter even another ceremony in which dead bodies of small children, lepers and yogins are put into the water unburnt. These corpses are not being given to the flames, but offered to the river goddess, intact, and one can see them floating by. On our right, indeed, we were seeing some of them, and the small daughter of my friend asking whether these were horses, and her mother, having lost control at one point close to the funeral site, putting a hand into the water and touching her face with it. Later then, in the safety of our hotel room, we could not believe what we discovered. The pimples on the skin of her face and body she had suffered from during our entire journey had disappeared within minutes after touching the water. Varanasi indeed is said to be one of the gates towards heaven, and after a few hours there, we could not bear to stop there any longer. And on our way after, any further stop at any place was out of question. I even increased the hours I was driving, and at times I included the nights. I also recall that the closer we got to the place we were meant to reach, the worse my foreboding feelings grew. 28 August 2017. Today, 50 years later, here at my place near the colony, I've woken up in the morning with an extraordinarily pleasant sensation all over my body. I have done my exercises in the night, and this always helps. None of my concerns regarding weird dreams of any kind were triggered, and I do feel happy. Thus I conclude that I'm moving okay. I was stretching my body and enjoying it. I even need to integrate some new body postures I have discovered in the night. I know they will help me, especially when I'm about to dare the OBE procedure. I really would like to do them. In fact, in the beginning of my stay at the colony, I did experience something like this spontaneously once, involuntarily, and I never have forgotten it. OBE means out-of-body experience, where one part of us miraculously leaves the physical moves about and returns. She, though, has made it clear the mastery of exploring different layers of consciousness at will would be more than helpful, but only under competent guidance and protection, or if given by birth. So, she has refused to explain to anybody how one accesses them. These different layers with parts of our being as if in a dream. But, of course, I secretly still do strive to learn how it works. But she, on the other hand, did also stress that our physical body is protecting us from whatever there may be in this unknown universe. The ancient Egyptians are said to have been masters in this practice, and so the Toltecs in South America. However, this is also one of the playfields of E, my Brazilian partner. She says she is at home there, after having been pulled there without wanting it. She would, according to her, just go to wherever her invisible guides were taking her, while making her gladly leave her normal reality. The experience she was making in these areas, she says, were at times more than she could digest, but they would make her happy. Even disturbances or imbalances within her mental setup of her outside personality were resolved this way. By focusing on them, she would then receive instructions of how to further go about it, even if disharmonies originated from previous lives. All kinds of realities and universes anywhere were coexisting simultaneously. For me, there's nothing to say in this context. 29 August 2017. From the very beginning, as long as I was officially member of the colony, I have been moved for whatever reason right to the center of all kinds of controversies and conflicts. And when the reality politics at the colony came up after she as well has left her body, practically many of us found ourselves surrounded on one hand by an incompetent administration, and on the other in the middle of battling political and ideological armies of devotees who believed to have to destroy their evil enemy. For me, this was weird. Why was this happening inside a project which was supposed to be one of the links to the future development of humanity, with the aim of unending progress, harmony, and education? The integration of different belief systems and religions. And my case turned out to be one of the worst. I had given up politics for good, and the last thing I wanted was to participate in any war. I, amongst a few other colonists, became separated from its mainstream. So my visa got cancelled and my financial support was withdrawn. Legally, the colony was registered and managed by the members of an administration which claimed to be the instrument and bridge to the divine. As if this was not been there and done it. Since thousands of years. And I was trained to take action on my own. The result, after a few years, I had 2 stalled quit India orders and 1 deportation order. And I suddenly found myself to be the official owner of a small piece of land with a legal case against me, which I finally won. I probably belonged to one of the few foreigners in India who were allowed to keep lands in their own name at that time officially. The purpose of my records here with you does not include a description of the details of human errors known since ancient times. So I will not do it. But even I never had any idea that I was creating all of this by myself, inside a breathtaking game of self-deception. So when I received my third quit order, after 5 years of hard work at the colony, after having built up an entire community together with my partner, when we had spent all of our money, I had to acknowledge 4 facts. Politically, I had no support. I was the rebel again. I needed a good strategy, and I had sufficient training for this. Well, a date was given when I had to leave the country, and accordingly I booked my ticket. The only airline at that time that offered reasonable rates from India to Europe and back was Egypt Airlines. In order to show the police that I was following the command of the authority and actually leave, I had to present my ticket at the local police station. I mention this here as this detail later turned out to be interesting. When I entered the police station through the window at the office, I saw a man I knew well, quickly disappearing. He was one of my neighbors, member of the Indian administration of the colony at that time, ex-member of the ashram. He was of my age. I recall my spontaneous thought the moment I saw him. What is this fellow doing here? My flight was to go 3 days after. The ominous answer to my question of that day at the police station, I realized only 3 months later. He was serving as an obedient instrument to help organizing my later deportation at gunpoint from the Bombay airport. 30th August 2017. It seems it is true that there are 4 major issues that mostly govern our apparent human existence, at least how and where we are now in our development, our karmic involvements, the impulses of our animal nature, our belief systems, and in rare cases, intervention of unknown forces. To unite with the divine is the true aim of yoga, they say, and that the path is difficult, at times curved and long. Tarot topic. What do I need to know now? I will abstain from showing you the cards I drew after reading this, and I know that you will trust me. First card, indicating the past, tells me we were experiencing union in love. Second card, indicating the present, tells me we are integrating and opening up for a new path. Third card, indicating the future, tells me we will experience success. Fourth card, indicating our benefits, tell me we are gaining truth. Fifth card, indicating future benefits, tells me we are gaining clarity. Sixth card, indicating the lesson to learn, tells me we are achieving union and communion with the world and the universe. Thanks and namaste.